it's Morgan. Today I'm at Texas Tech University and I'm going to find some college students to talk about censorship and the biggest issues facing our country. What is the biggest issue facing America today?
I would say the housing market.
Okay.
Affecting a lot of the younger generations.
There's not like a cumulative knowledge of what the truth is, and everyone has my truth. Getting born is the most important issue of our time, I'd say.
Gun control. I agree. I don't think it needs to be like eliminated, like no guns, but like I think there needs to be more laws in place to like make sure to authorize people before they buy guns.
Okay.
I think our society is like furthering farther and farther from reality. In the long term, like when all the older generations die out and we're the ones left to save the world, I think it's going to be really hard for us to be in real time in reality.
Inflation.
Poverty.
I think it's the government spending. I think they have their priorities wrong.
I would say honestly the standard of living. It's pretty expensive to live in this country.
People disagreeing. Partisan thinking and polemic sort of ideologies on the left and right. In all honesty, I'm a liberal and I think it's mostly right. I think the right-wing trajectory of the country has gotten a little bit dangerous, and specifically religious fanaticism is dangerous.
People not giving each other like the chance to understand one another.
The border crisis.
Who do you guys think is censored more, liberals or conservatives?
Conservatives without conservatives, no question.
Why are conservatives censored so much?
I feel conservatives are more truth-based than feeling-based, and everyone gets their feelings hurt, and they don't like that.
Conservatives, because a lot of the news is on the left side.
I would say conservatives. I post on social media conservative content, and I get censored a lot.
I would depend.
I think liberals are censored more just because that's literally what they're about.
I feel like the older generation is more conservative, and so to push against that, they try to censor more. So if you have different views than them, even if it's not the most like liberal, even if just slightly less conservative, they tend to censor that because they don't want to believe it.
I actually take back my answer. I think it's whatever side you are not on. It's more sensitive for sure.
I'm gonna say conservatives.
Okay.
I'll say the same.
Maybe conservatives. I feel like you don't really see conservatives voicing their opinions as much as liberals.
I would say conservatives.
Conservatives.
Times might vary with who has, power in office and all that, but I would say conservatives right now. The liberal agenda is kind of the more societally acceptable as right now. But it can vary, it just depends where you are and stuff. But I just feel overall.
They both censor each other quite a lot. I don't know if I could pick one or the other. I don't think, honestly, in the age of the internet, anyone is censored. Anyone can seek out any information they want. And that's honestly part of the problem. Echo chambers exist in a lot of these areas, and I think to suggest that one side is censored disproportionate to the other is maybe misconstrued.
It just depends where they are, who the majority is. If you're somebody in Texas, I imagine a liberal's gonna get censored more, and then if you're in California, then a conservative. It just depends.
Is hate speech free speech?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can still say what you want.
By definition, free speech is free speech. Your feelings aren't protected under any constitution, but your speech is.
I mean, you can try to speak out of love and not speak out of hate.
Yeah.
Ultimately, there's no law that prohibits you, even though
Right.
you shouldn't.
I would prefer it's not.
I
would prefer it not. There's no need for that.
I don't think it is unless you're for example, I hate Jews versus I'm gonna kill all the Jews. The more active it is, the more hate speech it really is.
I think it is. And sometimes we just need to be okay with it, even if it just sounds wrong. What we think is disgusting or, gross in our minds is wrong, but it's actually not, And so that's the same thing with hate speech, right? We think it's wrong because it sounds wrong.
But it doesn't.
Really, it's not.
It is free speech, but I do think there are some things that you probably just shouldn't say.
To a degree, yes. But then again, there should be a limit somewhere,
Technically, anyone has the right to say whatever they want. It's not good. The hate speech should not be said.
Yeah.
No one deserves to be discriminated against, so... No, hate speech is not free speech. Hate speech is speech that directly identifies a group and acts as a form of threat. To my understanding, the Constitution clearly defines that hate speech is not free speech, and that if you are harassing, haranguing, or threatening violence against a group, it is not covered under the First Amendment.
By definition, yeah, you're allowed to say whatever you want. Everybody else is also allowed to decide the consequences for you. It's not just a free whatever you want to say.
What kind of punishment do you think should be put onto people that do engage in hate speech?
That's a difficult question because, again, through the rise of the internet, anonymity is an issue. People can say whatever they want, and they are under the guise of an anonymous username, and that's how hate speech is toiled. So I think it's ultimately up to the privatized corporations of which these social media platforms exist to enforce those policies. I don't know what the exact right punishment would be, but I think there has to be some punishment because otherwise there's no point.
Gets to a certain extent of harassment. If you're not breaching that, no.
First Amendment protects all speech, so there really shouldn't be any punishment no matter how much you dislike what they're saying.
The First Amendment is there for a reason. Ultimately, hate speech depends on people's view on what you're saying. So people could argue against what you're saying.
It's true. I don't
think so. Unless it's like a threat, then I don't think so.
Yeah, because how do you like regulate that?
Yeah.
You just say it's hate speech and it's not actually. Yeah, I just feel like it is, and so you're going away from the free speech aspect that hate speech comes from.
I think there should be a punishment. However, I do not know. Because that's kind of like a gray area because like everyone has the right to say anything they want.
There should be punishment, and that's really up to where you are, what kind of people you're around, what you're saying.
Do you feel like free speech is actually protected in America today?
In comparison to other countries, yes. So I'll say that, maybe not perfectly, but, they can't be perfect. But you see a lot of other places that, you might be thrown in jail for that. I don't think that happens here.
Full answer is no, but 90% of it, yes.
Not as much as it should be.
Yeah, with cancel culture, and especially because social media is owned by companies, the companies can censor you. And so I feel like it doesn't fully support it. It's getting better.
Not enough, I'd say.
I think so. I feel like no, just because like everything you do nowadays is really monitored. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. It's like up to society, like what's the right thing to say.
Not really. I still think there are a lot of things that you probably just shouldn't say, a lot of like rude things. But I think, even if you say them and they're opinions that you have, they can still like get your life ruined.
Yes, I do. I believe the right weaponizes free speech and censorship in order to sort of act as a straw man against them. I think it's used as a tool by which to tell people like, look at how we're getting censored, look at how we're getting mistreated. And I just don't think it's that serious. And in my opinion, don't publish false stories and publish hateful things and you won't be censored. Granted, does the left publish falsified stories? In some cases, yes. Are they censored? I honestly don't know. I exist in those echo chambers.
As far as the government goes, it is protected, quote unquote, but what we have to understand is that the government isn't always going to be in there in the middle. It shouldn't be in the middle, otherwise we're going to lose a lot of freedoms, right? It's up to the people to decide.
How do you think we can move away as a generation from cancel culture and censorship?
Just getting along with each other, like having open minds towards other opinions. Yeah, it's pretty simple. And like, don't go out and like try to like ruin someone's day. Just like be open, like be an open person.
I think just being kind. Like no matter what, like you're just kind to people, whether they've done wrong or right. Just kind of them.
There's some people that already do it and they just ignore the cancel culture.
True.
They say what they want to say and people get drawn to it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best way to really combat it.
The best way to, I guess, fight it is to not embrace it. Even if it's against people you don't like, if you embrace on others, people are going to embrace on you.
Yeah.
So you just have to do what you want others to do to you, basically.
Honestly, grow up, accept that people are different and that people have different opinions, and just don't be so offended like with everything.
I personally believe cancel culture is mostly just holding people accountable. I think cancel culture is, if not sometimes a bit extreme, in most cases saying to people, we don't want what you toil, we don't want what you push. It's an extension of popular will to say to people, your actions are wrong and we don't agree with them. On the extreme ends, people are possibly canceled for false reasons or something like that, but I think it's a lot less frequent than people may suggest.
So would you say that cancel culture to an extent is kind of positive in a way?
Maybe not positive, but I think the ability of people, specifically on the internet and using the internet, to sort of speak truth to power and say, these activities by which you act and the people by which you discriminate against or something like that is wrong. I think it is a positive tool. The internet being a tool for which a positive aspect is.
Definitely just being a lot more open. When somebody's opinion's different, like right away they shut down, like, oh, this is wrong. Like, that's not always true.
Hey, I really respect your answers. One of the things that I do in my job is I travel the country and I interview college students across the country, and it's really, honestly, refreshing to be able to have conversations like this, because I may not agree 100% with your statements, all of them, but there is a part of me that does agree with a lot of the things that you said. So I really appreciate you engaging.
Yeah, thanks.
It's really awesome.